News at 5, 6, and 10.
Welcome to This Week in Kansas with your host, Tim Brown.
Hello and welcome to This Week in Kansas. Thank you for being with us this morning. The governor's State of the State address gave us a look at what Governor Brownback hopes to accomplish this session. The governor is looking at a new school funding formula, wants to change the way the Supreme Court justices are selected, and says he will continue to push for a state with no income tax. We'll break it all down for you here on the show this morning. We've got lots to talk about, guys, so we're going to dive right in. State of the State address. Phil, I know you actually made the trip up to Topeka to
I wouldn't have missed it for the world.
I've been to a few, and I watched that one on television.
You know, I have
Mary,
to
you
be.
missed the legislature?
You know, it was a lot of fun. It's still fun to go back. You know, it's kind of like a chocolate. You can get too much of it.
Yeah.
Although that's really hard to do.
Never heard the legislature referred to as chocolate. But go ahead.
Well,
Or anything
it
sweet
was
for that
it was
matter.
really interesting because you get to see more when you're in the room than on television.
Yep.
And so I could watch the legislators, and we have everybody in one room, and you could see who stood up and applauded, and who kept their arms folded, and who glared at each other, and then who would shake each other's hands, and watch the forced smiles. I think the level of animus in this session is going to be higher than it has been in the past. Some of the things that the governor put on his list of goals are quite controversial.
Yep.
And I'm sure that some of the things he wants to accomplish are going to be so difficult. You know, we're going to talk about the school finance and how that's going to work. I think what we really saw was this is the culmination of a 5-year plan to get to a political goal. The goals were explained last night. The plan was to change the makeup of the legislature to the degree that these goals would succeed. Yep. And I can't believe they would have raised the flag and not count noses. So that tells me they can do just about anything they want with legislative enactment. And then the real question is, what do they have when it comes to trying to get 2/3 in each chamber, for example, for the question on the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
And so, you know,
Well,
we've got so much to talk about. It was an amazing speech to watch. It was an amazing group of people. There were lots of people there observing. There were lots of protesters in the building. You know, it's going to be a really interesting year. By the way, that's an ancient Chinese curse. But that you have an interesting life.
You know, the last session was pretty, well, all sessions are pretty interesting, but the last session was pretty interesting. And there were a lot of challenges. I think the challenges are significantly larger this time around because we have a pretty big hole, Ken, to fill from a budget standpoint.
And I thought what's interesting is I thought last year they were trying to fix things so that the Sam Brownback wouldn't have to confront a budget problem this year. I mean, you know, he left the sales tax on and
Yep.
some other things. They were talking about that.
And
but of course the revenues have gone, you know, down.
Yeah. And we have a pretty
So
significant.
he's got a big problem.
Yeah, he does. He does.
Yeah.
Chapman, let's get your initial thoughts. We're going to play some audio here in a few minutes, not just yet, but we're going to play some audio from Governor Sam Brownback. But Chapman, I want to get just kind of your overall initial thoughts before we jump into that.
Well, what really struck me was the difference that 16 hours makes, because the State of the State speech last night was full speed ahead rhetoric, seeing the election and his win, no matter how narrow the margin, as an endorsement of the glide path to zero, Governor Brownback's roadmap, and so on. And then there's a 180-degree shift when you see the budget released the next morning, and you see all of the sin taxes that were proposed in there, all of the other revenue things. I'm going to disagree with Ken a little bit here because based on projections, most folks in Topeka said that the real challenging budget cycle was going to be the 2015 legislative cycle. That was going to be where if the governor's plan worked, we were going to have the greatest hit. Those of us in higher education who have been looking for appropriations from the state and so on, this was the year everyone was told to strap in. So this is, as Judge Journey very appropriately pointed out, this is going to be an incredibly contentious year. I think that what you will see is we're going to shift the screen a little bit or the lens that we've been looking at the legislature through. We've been talking about it in terms of a unified conservative group, but I think what we're going to see, especially with what the governor put forward on Friday, is issues that are going to drive wedges in between different factions that were either not formed yet or were about to form. This is going to be what gives them the impetus to form, and that's what's going to make for the great political theater that both Ken and Phil are talking about.
Chapman, you actually answered my question before I even asked it. How can this be so contentious? Because the governor got the lineup that he wanted. I mean, he created his football team. He's got everybody that he wants on that team.
Not quite.
Well, almost everybody. About 10 out of the 11 players on offense, I think. But I think Chapman just said it. We've got to get to some of the sound, though, guys. I'm going to we'll talk in just a second. But
I was just going to comment. Just for example, I know we record Friday evening, but today, Friday, Michael O'Donnell said he's got certain interests here he wants to look at, and he wants to get back in that budget. He says, I want to see how things affect Sedgwick County. If you read anything about that, just today he came out on this.
Tough to get anything else.
So there's contention. That's what we're saying. There may be some contentious stuff here.
Speaking of budget, let's go ahead and play the soundbite with Governor Brownback talking about the budget.
Everyone will be able to find things in this budget that they don't agree with or they don't like. I hope as you review the budget, you put forth what you would do to make it better. But as we go about this work, I'd ask you to keep two things in mind. First, the family budget is more powerful than the government budget. And second, a growing economy that is adding private sector jobs and increasing personal income can fix a government budget. It took 40 governors of Kansas to get to our first $1 billion level government fund expenditure. So it's 40 governors before we ever reached $1 billion in general fund expenditures. The next 4 governors saw that number hit $6 billion. That government spending growth was not reflective of the trajectory of our population or of our economy. It was government getting too big, too fast, taking too much of your money.
Well, Ken, it's almost as if Governor Brownback was speaking to you right there. Everybody can find something that they don't like in that budget.
Right, true. Well, that's true.
Phil, what do you think about the governor's remarks?
I thought the governor was concise. The remarks have been portrayed across the entire spectrum that matches the political orientation of the people making the comments. Some said it was bold. Some said it's all a bunch of lies. It is so difficult to judge that because the information that it's based on is so voluminous that it's really difficult to try to boil these things down and try to say that's true, that's not true in so many respects. A lot of the speech was, it was a generality that was offered as a statement of principle rather than a statement of specifics. I mean, I noticed that he didn't talk about increasing excise taxes last night.
Oh, what a difference a day makes, Chapman. And you kind of touched on this just a bit already. We saw the speech. Everybody was wondering, well, gosh, how's he going to pay for the bold statements he's making? Now we know how he's going to pay by what a lot of people consider to be regressive taxes or sin taxes.
We'll focus on the sin taxes. The regressiveness, it's a point I've made a lot of times here on this show and in my columns about sales taxes versus property taxes and income taxes. The sin taxes are where things get really kind of interesting from a budget standpoint. They've projected that the tobacco taxes, which would be a 3-fold increase in taxes, adding, based on different estimates, between 90 cents and more than $2 to a pack of cigarettes. So a significant jump up there. This is the first time that I've seen where a tobacco tax has been increased or added for the point of making revenue, not for the point of trying to decrease smoking. Usually it's given as reasons for public health. So if we take that in there, that higher taxes, especially this big of a jump, tend to suppress people's use of tobacco. The problem that we get into, because all consumption taxes are so highly variable, is that if a lot of people see that and they see their packs of cigarettes go up from however much they are, as much as $2 a pack, they may decide, maybe this is my time to quit. And so we're not going to see or we may not see the revenues that we would from some other kind of consumption tax.
Agree 100% with what you just said, and here's what's going to happen. Here's what's going to happen. You are going to see fewer people smoke, so you're going to see less, and the people who do smoke are going to be driving south to Oklahoma. They're going to be going
east to Missouri.
East to Missouri, or west to Colorado, or north to Nebraska.
Around Nebraska.
They're going to be going to the Indian reservations where they don't have taxes on cigarettes, or not.
Yeah.
I don't think they do. The smoke
No,
shots that you see.
no, they don't. Only the federal.
And they're going to come back with a trunk full of cigarettes. You're going to see black market cigarettes. You're going to see all kinds of things. This is, I don't see this working. I just don't.
I think that there's a lot to be said that the estimates of it raising another $80 million a year are perhaps overly optimistic. I expect there are people out there right now trying to figure out how to buy stock in Quick Trip with just Missouri, because it's going to be so, I mean, in Kansas City, it's obvious that they go back and forth the line all the time. And the same thing's true with liquor and beer, which they're going to increase those taxes about
8 to
40%.
8 to 12%.
Yeah, well,
Beer, liquor, and wine.
that's an increase of what they tax. They go from 8% to 12%, so it's a 50% increase in the excise tax on liquor and beer. So, it's pretty obvious that there are a lot of other moving parts in the governor's budget too. Issues they're going to do with capers. They're going to try changing how they do bonding. They want a constitutional amendment so that when the state has an indenture, that it has to be paid and it goes off budget. And so that'll help save them money on interest.
Well, that'll help with our bond rating possibly.
That'll help with the
Sounds like we're gonna
bond
take a big
rating.
loan
That'll
out
help
to
with
pay
the interest they
capers,
pay on the money they borrow. They want to borrow a bucket full of
bunch.
money to help fund capers some more.
Yeah.
And put off balancing that for another decade.
So we're still going to borrow from capers then?
They haven't borrowed from capers yet. What they were
Not
going
yet.
to do was reduce what would be the equivalent of the employer's contribution for 1 year to try to get through this budget that they're in right now in the fiscal year of 2015.
We have to take a commercial break, guys. I
Yep.
let this first segment go on way too long, and they're going to have my head up at the booth. So let's take a commercial break. When we come back, we'll continue our discussion about the State of the State address.
Save big at Menards. How big? 11% big. This big. Bigger. 11% bigger. With 11%, make it easier. 11% easier. Get organized. No, 11% more organized. Save 11% on doors. Every door. Save 11% on flooring. All flooring. Save 11% on lumber. That's right, all the lumber. From this to this, or even this. There's no end to the possibilities with an 11% rebate on your entire purchase. Hurry in for big savings.
Every day's a savings day. You can shop the savings way at Jabara's Carpet Outlet.
Every day is a savings day at Jabara's Flooring Superstore. You'll always save with our everyday low prices, but right now you can save up to 20% more on our huge inventory of remnants.
Every day's a savings day at Jabara's Carpet Outlet.
I'm Teresa Vale. You're invited to the first annual Wichita Sports Show. The new Wichita Sports Show. New, Travel and Adventure Expo. New, Get Cooking with Michael Pierce. New, Play in Our Lazy River.
See us for free fishing tickets.
Save on your next adventure. Education, family fun, a great time. Of course, heroes get a deal. Thursday the 29th through Sunday, February 1st at the Pavilions in Park City.
About to buy flooring from a home center? Stop! You've got to shop The Floor Project, the first truly unique flooring store in Wichita, featuring wide, bright aisles displaying only the latest, most popular flooring styles. Select any floor, then virtually try it before you buy it, using our Easy View Room Designer to see how it looks in any room setting, even your own room. You'll love what you see. Then take home huge flooring samples at no charge. During The Floor Project's holiday flooring sale, save up to 17% on every in-stock floor. The Floor Project. Selection, service, price.
And welcome back. We'll be discussing the governor's State of the State address that happened Thursday night of this week. And interesting address. It's gotten all kinds of reviews, from very favorable to not very favorable. Again, as you said, Phil, depending kind of on your political persuasion. But, you know, it's going to be an interesting session, and there will have to be some bold decisions made and some bold plans. And one of those bold plans will involve schools. The governor did talk about trying to kind of come up with a new formula, a new funding formula. And put some, he wanted to hold funding for schools steady for next 2 years, I believe. And
I don't know if I'd quite describe it that way.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that either.
How so?
Okay.
Should we play a soundbite first?
This is the point where I get to say I've told you so for years.
Okay.
This all surrounds, this all centers around the school finance lawsuit.
Yeah.
We can go back to Montoy. We could run the clip where he says these lawsuits have been going on for 4 decades. And so, where are we at on the lawsuit? Basically, the lawsuit had 2 components, equity and sufficiency. Equity's pretty much fixed last year. I mean, even the richest district in the state, Blue Valley, got equalization money, which really upset a lot of people. Then, because they're going like, why do they need it? Why do they need to pull it out of other districts in the state? So we have 286 school districts at this point in Kansas. We're down from 312 when I was in the Senate. What the plan is to repeal the school finance formula. Not to have a formula, but to eliminate it and then do a block grant, essentially, for all 286 school districts. And then maybe they'll figure out a new formula someday in the future. And the reason they've had to go at it this way is that every time they've tried to do reform on the school funding formula, it has been the morass that every time you take a swing at it, you just get in deeper. It gets more complicated. It gets more difficult to understand. And you know, now that the one guy that understood it has retired 2 years ago, they really, this is like what the State Department of Education does, is figure out this formula and get the big pot and allocate the money to the individual school districts. They're not going to have a job.
Let's play the governor's soundbite concerning the school finance. And then, Ken, I want to get your thoughts when we come out of this, and we'll go to Chapman after that.
For decades now, Kansas has struggled under a school finance formula which was designed not to be understood, to frustrate efforts at accountability and efficiency. A formula designed to lock in automatic massive increases in spending unrelated to actual student populations or improved student achievements. A formula which calculated that we've added more than 100,000 new students to the public schools while the actual census has grown by a fraction of that number. An accounting scheme that claims cuts to per pupil spending even as budget increases dramatically outpace increases in student population. Not surprisingly, that formula has been under litigation for 40 years. In this 2-year budget, the legislature should appropriate money directly to school districts so it can be spent where it is needed most, and that's in the classroom. And at the same time, the legislature should repeal the existing school finance formula and allow itself sufficient time to write a new, modern formula that meets our needs for great 21st century schools. And as we go about that process, it should be accountable to local parents and voters, because here the people rule.
I don't see where the I told you so was, but anyway.
I didn't quite get there yet.
Well,
but we'll get
I
there.
was just, you know, the critics are saying that there's nothing wrong with the present formula as it's set up and so on. It's just not properly funded. It's just not, if it's not fully funded. If it were fully funded, it'd be working very well. So I don't know if this new, you know, block grant kinds of things, and that's what it's going to be. And how are you going to determine who gets what districts get what, how much money, you know, and so on. He's talking about student population growth. I think how our budgets didn't, you know, exceeding what the growth is, right?
The plan is
So,
that they all get what they got this year for each of the next 2 years.
2 years, yeah.
That there will not be any adjustments. That way they don't have to go through 286 hearings. And here's what it's all about. It's about making the school finance lawsuit moot.
well,
That's what it's about.
Absolutely.
Is the lawsuit is over the formula, and if you repeal the formula, the lawsuit goes away, and that's what their hopes is. And when I spoke to Attorney General Schmidt last night, he said, well, looks like I'm going to have to start drafting my motion. So that's what it's all about. That's what this whole 5-year plan has been about. That's what it's all been about since 2005.
Chapman, your turn.
Okay. Well, no setup.
No, not this time.
Let me dispute something that the governor said about the school finance formula. He said that it was designed not to be understood. That's great rhetoric. It makes a great soundbite. It's not designed to be misunderstood. It's designed to do something incredibly complex, which is take a whole bunch of factors, demographic, performance, financial, and otherwise, and try to come up with a roughly equalized distribution of that money among the hundreds of school districts that we have here in the state of Kansas. And as Ken kind of alluded to, a simplified system probably isn't going to work very well. Now, being out here in the western part of the state, I can tell you that despite our general support for lower taxes and so on, schools are a point of pride out here. And there is a great concern among many western Kansas communities that what is going to happen is forced consolidation by proxy, that by doing this, there will be a greater inequity between school districts, and where we will see the biggest gaps in the inequity are between the eastern urbanized wealthier districts and the poorer, less populated rural areas. We've already seen a significant decrease in our clout in the state legislature. We only have really 2 people in leadership positions from west of Interstate 135 in the Kansas legislature in either chamber. And so this is something that out here, people have a lot of nerves about. It also seems to be really out of alignment to say we need to repeal this and then we need to leave it with heaven knows what while we're working on a new system. Why not keep the system in place, as imperfect as it is? It's a system, it's a known, people can count on the stability there until you roll out this new equivalency formula that the governor talks about in his speech. So there's a real gap there that I'd like to see an explanation for, because that part doesn't make sense at all.
The explanation is the school funding lawsuit. If they work under the old formula until they write the new one, the school funding lawsuit still moves forward.
But didn't he say that he was going to keep the level of spending the same for the next 2 years, right?
Right.
So doesn't that fill the gap? Chapman, I guess I don't understand what you're asking.
Well, I'm not asking anything there. Phil's disputing what I'm saying, but Tim, I think you have the right point here, which is that you may be able to prevent future lawsuits, but we have this one currently, and this lawsuit is not being tried based on what may be happening. It's on what is happening. So even if you repeal it, it doesn't moot this lawsuit. Only future activities can moot future lawsuits. They can't render this one moot in the meantime. So I guess I'm a little bit confused about where Phil's going here.
Phil,
I'm not going anywhere. I'm just telling you what they're telling me where they want to go. I'm just sitting here happy, to be on the show.
Well, that's good. I'm glad you're in a good mood.
I am.
That's great. Let's take another commercial break. We'll try to keep Phil in a good mood, and we will come back. We're going to continue our State of the State talk, though, since we've got so much more ground to cover. We'll be back in a couple of minutes.
It's epic, irresistible, and joyfully ridiculous with guest stars Ricky Gervais and Weird Al Yankovic.
Kill me.
Gallivant, the comedy extravaganza, continues tonight at 8/7 Central on ABC.
What were you expecting? A little garnish?
Introducing Longhorn's bold flavors, bold price for $12.99. The Fire Grill Triple Bacon Sirloin, the Shiitake Truffle Mushroom Sirloin, or the Garlic Provolone Sirloin. All with salad and honey wheat bread for just $12.99. Longhorn Steakhouse. You can't fake steak. Now try our slow roasted shaved prime rib sandwich or the rest of our steakhouse lunch combo starting at $7.99.
Reality shows? Some like them, some don't. But here's a dose of reality that you can live with. At Credit Union of America, we've got your kind of savings. Easy to start, flexible terms, and high interest rates to get you to what you're saving for sooner. Our plans are designed to make the most of your money and safely hold your funds until you need them. We're here to help you plan, save, and enjoy your new reality. With tips, tools, and truly great rates, you can save on your terms. Bring your dream into one of our 12 locations, and we'll be waiting with great ideas to make it a reality. Credit Union of America. Welcome to Friendly.
After my car wreck, I called Brad at his new number at his new office on East 21st Street.
Brad's new office is absolutely amazing.
That's right. I've moved to East 21st Street, and my beautiful new office is bigger and better than ever.
Brad got me $880,000.
Brad won my case for $550,000. No question about it. Brad wins.
Don't make the wrong choice. Hire the real Brad.
1-800-241-BRAD.
Call me. It's just that easy.
Call 1-800-241-BRAD.
When we first worked with Kitchen Tune-Up, it was at another residence. They met our deadline, our timelines, choices that they had, and the selections that they gave us were very much to our liking. Kitchen Tune-Up was awesome.
And welcome back. We're going to continue our talk about the State of the State address by Governor Brownback and some of the things that he hoped to accomplish and what he talks about that he hopes will happen in the session coming up. And one of the things that Governor Brownback, he pushed this last session, we heard a lot about it, and he wants to do this, and he thinks he does have the right team in place, the number of players on the football team, as we alluded to in the last segment, to try to get it would take a constitutional amendment, change the way we select our Supreme Court justices. And this is an interesting one because, again, I think most people would say that this is 100% tied to the school finance situation. Ken?
Yeah, and I have a view on that. I would say, and I, Phil here is a judge, we shouldn't adjust the effectiveness of a judicial selection system by what's been happening with school lawsuits, lawsuits about the schools against the state for not properly funding them, supposedly constitutionally funding. No, we should not. That should not be a reason for making the change, is what I'm arguing. Mm-hmm. And of course, we understand the politics of this, that may very well be the reason.
You said during the break there's something you would like to not see.
Well, I don't want to see Supreme Court justices elected by the people. Maybe you want to lose some of your First Amendment freedoms by some of these people who could run. I don't know. I mean, some of these people would terrify me. I think, quite possibly some of the conditions under which they would run and what they would advocate and so on. So I don't want to see that. I might accept the appointment by the governor and then have the Senate or something like that.
Well, and that was one of the options. Governor would pick he would make some selections, and then the Senate would have to confirm.
Or he could just make one.
Yeah, you make one, and the Senate would have to confirm his selection. Which, the way it is right now, they call it kind of a merit system, Phil. I believe
the way
three choices go up to the governor.
Bar association.
The way judges are selected now is all of the attorneys in the state have an election, and they elect the attorneys' representatives to the commission. Then there are several that are appointed by the governor. They changed the makeup of how the commissioners were, for lack of a better term, were selected in the last legislative session, and took the Court of Appeals out because the Court of Appeals provisions are statutory. The state Supreme Court is a constitutional provision passed back during when they did the triple play. Ken was around in politics way back then.
That's right.
And so now they have two choices, and I'm going to go back to what I said earlier. The last three election cycles have been about this topic. It's been about getting enough people in place to find 2/3, and being the only person in the room who has figured out how to find 2/3 and override a governor's veto since Joan Finney was governor. I know how tough that is to do. And they are there. It appears the Senate has already passed constitutional amendments in continuing resolutions, and the House didn't have the numbers. We start the new biennial session, it's a 2-year process, and so it appears that now that they've flown the black flag, and there's no quarter and there's no more conversations to go on, they must have 2/3 in the House. The last time I heard of a nose count right after the election, they thought perhaps they were too shy. It takes 87 or 86 and 27 to put the constitutional question on the ballot. So if what I think they're going to do occurs, we'll have that question on the April ballot.
Chapman, is this thing going to happen, you think?
I think Phil's mapped it out absolutely right. Yeah, they have the numbers now. A whip count would show that you've got enough folks who basically want to give the governor this item, probably because they want a bargaining chip with him for something else that matters a lot more to them. This is not something that a lot of state legislators have in the current chambers have that much of a desire for, but they know the governor is pushing for it. So they seem more than happy to give him this one, but I think that means that they're going to expect their pound of flesh later.
Yeah, but Chapman, even if this does happen, if this happens in April, it gets on the ballot and it passes, will it really have an impact? Because how long will it take for the change to, first of all, the governor would have to appoint?
2016.
2016.
That's right.
2016, yeah. All right, look back at the 14 cycle. 2 justices were up for retention. They lost urban counties. Yeah. That's the first time that's ever happened. And
but there were some other factors at play there as well. If
those media efforts had been outside of the major markets in the state, they would have not been retained. And so now the other 5 are up for retention in 16. And I was speaking to someone today, and I told them if they're going to defend him, they better raise $1 million, because I'll bet 3 times that much will be spent to not retain these 5 justices. And you know, the 14th cycle was the test run. It was a huge success. I think they're going to gear up for 16, and we're going to see a campaign to not retain these judges like we've never had in Kansas before.
Yeah, and the governor did support the efforts to oust.
And their terms are up in 16. And so 16, depending on what the constitutional amendment is, 16 could be the first contested partisan election for Supreme Court justice in Kansas in 40 years.
And Ken, that's a game changer.
Are you talking about the governor?
Huh?
No, not the governor. You're talking what?
No, I'm talking about the 5 Supreme Court justices that are up. Their terms are done in 16.
No, but you're talking about partisan elections for them.
For them.
Yeah, which would be a
okay, there are 2. I know you don't want it, Ken. No. But the governor said he's good with either option.
Yeah.
He's good with a federal plan or partisan elections.
Chapman is trying to buzz in on us.
Yeah. I don't think we're going to see popular direct elections. First of all, as I think it was Ken who was saying it, can be disastrous. There's a reason that we insulate one branch of government from popular election, especially that one. But it's also very inconsistent with what Governor Brownback's agenda has been from the very beginning, which has been he wants to consolidate power in Cedar Crest. He wants to make what's a very balanced 3-branch government into an executive-dominated system. And so it would be somewhat surprising to see them go to direct election for those positions, because that's something that the governor could have more control over. What I've heard from him is that he wants federal style where the governor appoints and the Senate approves.
But I thought he said he didn't care.
He said either one's good with him.
He just wants the presidency. This would be interesting to see. I think we can. We do have a soundbite though from the governor. I believe that we can play on this. Let's listen to that, and we'll wrap this session up.
Now, recently, the legislature introduced a greater element of public accountability to judicial selection by reforming the process for selecting appellate court judges. It's time for similar reforms to apply to the Kansas Supreme Court. Currently, we have the least democratic system in America to select Supreme Court justices. The legislature should put before Kansas voters a proposed constitutional amendment for a more democratic selection process, one either based on the federal model or providing for direct elections of Supreme Court justices like we did for the first 100 years of our existence as a state. With the court involved in so many public policy issues, it's time the selection process be more democratic.
He calls for it right there.
I'm surprised he didn't say, with the Supreme Court holding fundraisers for my opponent in their home.
Oh, gosh.
I couldn't believe that when I read that.
Well, there you go. All right, let's take another commercial break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the coming session, not necessarily the state of the state, but just kind of a session preview. We'll be back.
And what's this business about?
Tapping them, activating the speaker, and blocking
I don't know. I think everything's better if you use it on the server side.
I got it. Hey, I wonder who this is, guys. Look, it's my new Wi-Fi modem from Cox. I forgot this was coming today. Wow. Guess I have the fastest internet now.
Whoa.
Let's go install it!
Yeah! Trust the nerds. Get access to the fastest in-home Wi-Fi from Cox with high-speed internet as low as $19.99 a month, and ask how to get a $200 prepaid card.
A new year means a new you, and the Mattress Hub is ready to change the way you sleep forever. Celebrate and save with Serta. Find instant rebates up to $300. Or buy a bed, get a bed for free. That's right, buy a Serta iSeries or iComfort and get a bed for free. Plus, elevate into luxury and save with the Queen Memory Foam on an adjustable base for just $9.99. Welcome in the new year with huge savings only at the Mattress Hub.
Follow the cheap sheet to the Mattress Hub.
This is replacement siding like no other. It's called Everlast, only from Mid-America Exteriors. And this is a warranty like no other. It covers your Everlast siding against hail, termites, rot, delaminating, peeling, flaking, cracking, rusting, blistering, corroding, and excessive color change.
And this is a solution to scraping and painting forever. Call Mid-America Exteriors.
Call 265-5444. Mid-America Exteriors at midamericaexteriors.com.
About to buy flooring from a carpet store? Stop! You've got to shop The Floor Project, the first truly unique flooring store in Wichita, featuring wide, bright aisles displaying only the latest, most popular flooring styles. Select any floor, then virtually try it before you buy it, using our Easy View Room Designer to see how it looks in any room setting, even your own room. You'll love what you see. Then take home huge flooring samples at no charge. During The Floor Project's holiday flooring sale, save up to 17% on every in-stock floor. The Floor Project. Selection, service, price.
Every day's a savings day. You can shop the savings way at Jabara's Carpet Outlet.
Every day is a savings day at Jabara's Flooring Superstore. But right now, you can save an additional 5 to 25% on selected red tag items throughout our store.
Every day's a savings day at Jabara's Carpet Outlet.
And welcome back. This session has plenty of challenges for lawmakers and the governor, of course, and we'll just talk about some of the big topics that are up in front of us for the session. And I don't know, there's lots of stuff: liquor sales, body cameras, affordable airfares, medical marijuana. The list is pretty long, Phil.
Every legislative session, maybe 600 to 1,000 bills get introduced. Less than 10% pass. It's typical for a legislator to file a bill to placate one of his constituencies, and then, whether it gets out of committee or not, hey, he did what he said he'd do.
Yeah.
So, the reality is that the entire legislative process is set up to keep bills from legislation from being passed. It is so difficult to get through the committee process, get on the floor, try to come out of there unscathed, at least with your original concept intact, not have somebody do a gut and go where they said, hey, this one's about guns, I'm going to take everything out and put what I want in there, on the floor. And then everybody says, aye, and, all of a sudden your bill's gone and his bill's moving forward. So, the odds, okay, let's go through the litany. Medical marijuana, it's not going anywhere. They might sit in committee and then they'll say, go to Denver. But, we've got another bill is like the gun bill from Senator Aletha Faust-Goudeau. Never going to get out of committee. There's no way. There's not going to be the votes for
supporting it too.
Huh?
Gail Finney's supporting the idea.
Yeah, that'll work. Yeah. Yeah, both of them. That's not, okay, to get a bill passed, it's 21, 63, and 1.
Yeah, the Kansas City
you know,
senator
to get it
paid
out of Kansas, to get it out of committee, first you've got to convince the chairman to actually give you a hearing.
Yep.
And, you know, I mean, they're the king of their committee. The committee chairman, and now the committee chairman are beholden to the leadership, and, you know, they serve at the pleasure of the speaker or the president. And so if they do something the leadership doesn't like, you know what? We got a new committee chair like we saw happen with House Appropriations at the end of last session. So, you know, there is payback and there are rewards in the legislature.
Ken, what do you see as some of the big topics coming up here? Which jumps out at you? Liquor sales is one that I think we saw. Well, we've seen it for the past couple of
Well, they're
sessions.
trying to destroy mom and pop liquor stores.
Uncork, Kansas is what
Yeah,
they're calling it, where they want to sell it
big issue.
in some of the grocery
Is an
stores.
issue. Yeah, and I think a lot of these small liquor store owners have invested a lot of money in their stores. They got a lot in their inventory and all that, and I think it would wreck a lot of their smaller businesses.
Yeah, I think
to have the retail stores like Dillon's and Target or
Walmart
so
put them out
on
of business.
selling liquor,
yeah,
other than 3-2 beer. And I think even as Representative Carmichael said here from Wichita, he says it's not a good idea, he says, to have wine and hard liquor, he says, beside the Coca-Cola in the store. He says gives kids and minors.
Well, they won't put it by
minors
it.
the wrong idea, he says. wrong thing, wrong kind of situation. I was kind of surprised to hear him say that.
I think the real tragedy would be if we lost the affordable airfares. I don't know if it's really working like it did originally, but you know, if we lose that and we go back to the old way in Wichita, airfares are going to, you know, they're already high enough.
Yeah.
And if they lose that $5 million subsidy so that they keep the market competitive.
Well, and it's already challenged.
It's already a difficult time.
Yeah, it's challenging just to fly out of Wichita, let
It
alone
is.
you know, the cost of it. So
you know, I was chairman of the South Central Regional Delegation when we got that passed, and we got that burden changed from the city government, which initially started that payment, and county, to put it on the state, because it really benefits the entire economic region, the whole MSA. And you know, now they're going like, you know, we can't really afford it. You're on your own. Good luck.
Chapman, what jumps out at you as a big issue that lawmakers will be facing?
Perhaps I'm sharing some of my own perspective here, but I'm really anxious to see what they're going to do with the body-worn cameras bill. I have a master's student who is a law enforcement officer and is actually writing his master's thesis on a pilot project in body-worn cameras. So I've learned more about them than I thought I would ever know. But while I've been reading early drafts of that, Ferguson happened and Eric Garner happened and so on. And so I think it's something that's on the national front burner. I think it's something that Kansas could take a leadership role in. It is expensive, certainly, especially the real-time cloud-based storage for the video that's recorded if a locality chooses to go that route. But it is a safeguard for the officers. It is a safeguard for citizens. It provides a lot more data. It really helps out with police work. It's a significant advantage if they can find the money to be able to put that in. I think that'd be something that the legislature could really hang its hat on. As we're being very critical of the legislature and we're second guessing a lot of decisions, that would be something they could come back and they could say, that's a real win. I've done something not only for my citizens, but for the safety of my communities.
Expensive, though. Well, anyway, let's take another break, and when we come back, we'll continue our session preview talk. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
Get your family back to New Way this month and experience our all-new fresh hand-cut fries. This month, combo our delicious bacon cheddar New Way, hand-cut fries and root beer for $5.99.
Make your tax dollars go further at Cherry Orchard Furniture. Get this comfy sofa and love seat or recliner in 3 colors. 2 pieces, only $5.98. Free layaway or free financing up to 36 months. Don't miss this huge tax time savings event at Cherry Orchard Furniture.
My tax returns are here.
All right, I'll take those. Just sign here, here, and here. And good luck with that car.
Folks, don't let some clown take your money. At the largest Chevrolet Ford dealer in Kansas, we want you to get the car that you want to drive, and you can hold on to your refund.
No matter what your credit is, we've got the inventory and finance options to get you a newer or even a brand new vehicle, and you keep your hard-earned money.
I believe these belong to you, miss.
Your money goes further with us. Lubers, the friendly way to buy.
Your home should feel comfortable. It's where you spend time with your family. Let our family keep you comfortable.
Since 1975, DNC Dean Kuhn places people and principles before profit.
We offer free in-home consultations and financing with approved credit.
At Dan's, you'll deal with the faces of my family. Our quotes are the price you'll pay. We're an independent comfort specialist trained dealer. It's hard to stop a train.
What is radon? Home exposure to radon gas is the leading cause of lung cancer death in the United States for non-smokers. In Kansas, 1 in 4 homes will test at or above the EPA action level. The Surgeon General recommends all homes be tested and fixed if necessary. Visit kansasradonprogram.org for more information. Test, fix, save a life.
And welcome back. Of course, no session preview here in the state of Kansas would be complete without a talk of abortion bills. We saw a few last session, and we're going to see, we're already seeing some more. And Governor Brownback, not this State of the State, but I remember watching the last one, he made it very clear that he would sign pretty much anything that comes across his desk if it restricts abortion. Ken?
Yeah, and they're getting organized too. I read just the other day that they're here recently that they're really getting organized and want to present a united front on this abortion issue.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, our local man here, Mark Giesen, he wants to have this heartbeat legislation. You know, there's a heartbeat at a certain stage, and the fetus and so on, you can't have an abortion and so on. So trying to put restrictions on abortion.
You know, Phil, and I think some of the heartbeat legislation in other states has been challenged, if I'm not mistaken.
It has. The bill that is filed that has got everybody jumping around was filed by Senator Garrett Love from way out in the southwest corner of the state. Basically what it does is it regulates the DNC, the dilation extraction method, and says that it can't be done after a certain point because essentially what they do is they chop the live baby up and take them out a piece at a time. That's what they do. And so when they do that, and it's when you see the truth truck driving around town, that's the byproducts. Well, you're not paying attention because believe me, if you saw it, it would stand right out.
No, I've seen it before.
I
just haven't seen it in quite a while.
You know,
Maybe I don't.
Well, I think it's out running around on a tour,
okay,
but outside the state. But that's essentially what that bill does. The governor did pay an homage to the issue and to the movement, saying that Kansas was the most pro-life state in the country. So there's no doubt that if it's a legislative session, there will be a plethora of bills dealing with abortions, and the constant struggle will continue.
Chapman, abortion obviously always a big issue. You care to comment about that or anything else that you think might be big in the session?
There is nothing better to mobilize voters or to gin up your donors than to have some new piece of legislation related to abortion. We are one of the most pro-life states in the country, and so what we're doing is we're kind of nibbling at the edges, and in some cases about some really gruesome activities. The DNC procedure that Judge Journey talked about, almost unspeakable in many ways. We'll certainly see it. It will activate groups who will then rally their support around their legislators and their issues, and then something will pass or not, and we'll go back to business as usual. But it's become almost a bit of a sideshow in Kansas politics.
Yeah, the email's going to blow up this week. Without a doubt.
Well, be sure and forward them all to Chapman.
Oh, I'm going to send them to you.
Oh, okay. I wouldn't mind looking at them.
I think the governor really believes in this too.
No, I know he does.
Oh, this is the whole point about this.
You know, and you can't fault the governor. He is said from the outset. I mean, we all know that he's a social conservative. He wears it proudly, and that's his deal, and more power to him. And he stood by that. So I don't think you can criticize the governor for that. Let's take one more commercial break. When we come back, we're going to talk about some things that happened on a federal level or are happening on a federal level involving gay marriage and law enforcement seizure. We'll be back.
When you join the Y, get more than you expect. Because it's not just a healthy workout, it's healthy relationships. It's not just strengthening your heart, it's strengthening family. It's not just lifting weights, it's lifting up others. When you join the Y today, we'll waive your joiner fee. You'll save $50, but you'll also find a place where you can be happy, be healthy, and belong. Join online or at any YMCA today.
Hey, I noticed your car's not in the driveway.
Yeah, it's in the shop. It's gonna cost me an arm and a leg.
Should have taken it to Midas. Tell you what stuff needs fixing and what stuff can wait. High five!
Brakes, tires, oil, everything.
Thousands of our neighbors are struggling to put food on the table. We want to help, so every time you change your oil at Midas, Midas Drive Out Hunger will donate to our local food bank to provide up to 5 meals. Midas, every oil change, up to 5 meals for those in need.
Is that old car a hunk of burning junk? If it shakes and rattles, trade it in and roll into the new year in a nicer, newer car. So bring us your old ride and get way more than it's worth. Past credit problems got you singing the blues? We have more financing options than any other dealership, period. So if your old ride's got you howling like a hound dog, shake, rattle, and roll over to Supercar Guys today.
Buying a car doesn't have to suck. Every day's a savings day. You can shop the savings way at Jabara's Carpet Outlet.
Every day is a savings day at Jabara's Flooring Superstore. You'll always save with our everyday low prices, but right now you can save up to 20% more on our huge inventory of remnants.
Every day is a savings day at Jabara's Carpet Outlet.
And welcome back. We had a couple things happen on the federal level this week that I thought were quite interesting, and one involves the Supreme Court taking a look at gay marriage once and for all, and this is a huge deal, and it will obviously impact everything.
Well, okay. The reason the Supreme Court took the case up is that there has now finally been a division in the circuit courts of appeal. The circuit court sitting in Ohio said that the gay marriage is not a right, and so the others have all said it is, and so now the Supreme Court's going to take it up. Those cases are all based upon a Supreme Court opinion that dealt with a federal law denying benefits to gay couples, and they said that was unconstitutional, equal protection issues. And so now that equal protection clause is being applied all across the country in states. I mean, you know, we've all read the states, there's over half the states now have had their prohibitions declared unconstitutional. Kansas is in the sights. You know, we're going to be one of the next ones to get shot.
Ken?
Well, I would just say I'm predicting the Supreme Court's going to uphold gay marriage, and anything else that may go along with it. You know, as you pointed out, you know, the selective incorporation of the, you know, 14th Amendment, the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. I think that's going to come in, figure in here very seriously.
Supersede, yeah.
I think it's just a matter of time. It's going to be universal.
Yeah, I would agree. Chapman.
So,
oh,
sorry. Maybe the political environment may affect the court in this regard. That's a good question.
Might very well.
Hey,
Chapman,
federal judges are appointed for life. You know,
but they're still affected by their political environment.
Chapman,
I'll tell you a
jump in
story
here,
about that.
please.
Not to just join the chorus, but I was tweeting earlier this week that I thought it was, and choose your battle reference here, Antietam, Waterloo, or Normandy in the war over gay marriage. I agree with Ken that I think that the Supreme Court is going to use basically the interstate clause to kind of equalize things, and I think that they'll strike down any state bans on same-sex marriage as part of that. It could be wrong. We've certainly been proven wrong before, but the preponderance of the cases and the makeup of the U.S. Supreme Court lends me to think that they probably will say that we've seen the end of gay marriage bans in America.
Hey, how do you think they'll rule on the polygamous lawsuit? That's the next step.
I'm not aware of it.
Oh yeah, they're all out there filing them too in Utah. You know, they're sitting there going like, this is equal protection. This is what we want. You know, we'll see. That it's only a logical extension of the argument regarding gay marriage that it goes on and on and on.
Yeah. Chapman, I mean, it's an interesting point, and it certainly could have ramifications.
Yep.
Chapman, while we still have you on the line, let's talk about this. I don't know if you saw what Eric Holder said this week about law enforcement seizure, and I'm kind of curious what kind of impact that might have.
It'll have a significant one on both ends of the spectrum, both for law enforcement and communities and also for their citizens. There have been a lot of reports, point out a writer and blogger named Bradley Balco, who writes a lot about the militarization of police and police outstepping their bounds. And he points out so many communities that use and actually abuse these seizure laws, where you can seize without even sending someone to trial, just by arresting someone. These communities seize, they take, auction the property, and they make millions of dollars off of this, and that's why it's been kind of prone to abuse. So what Holder is trying to do, I think, is a bit of a goodbye gift, is restrict communities in their ability to do this.
Judge.
Yeah. All right. What has been going on, and it's been quite a controversy, is that some law enforcement agencies have been, in the mind's eye of others, abusing their ability under the law to seize assets. A lot of times it's just cash. You know, they'll find somebody driving down the road, they don't find any drugs in the car, but the guy's got $8,000 cash, and they go, well, you must be a drug dealer. And they take the money, and then the person has to sue them to get it back, and a lot of times it's less than what it would cost to do the suit, so they just walk away. And I can't believe that, I'm not familiar with what the order was from the Attorney General of the United States, but I can't believe his order would go outside the jurisdiction of federal law enforcement agencies. Kansas, for example, has their own forfeiture statutes that go through civil court.
Well, and if maybe I read it wrong, but I think he was talking about local and state agencies using that federal statute.
Well, and
that's the way I read it.
If that's so, his stick is to say, well, you know, you're not going to get our federal grant money anymore. But when Kansas seizes property, it goes into the state general fund. It doesn't go into the federal fund.
Ken, we've got about a minute left. It doesn't seem, I think a lot of people would say that just doesn't seem fair that you could do that.
Well, I'd agree. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I mean, you have to have some concrete reason, I would think, or some good reason for doing it.
The burden of proof is different. The burden of proof on a civil forfeiture is just a preponderance of the evidence. In a criminal case is proof beyond a reasonable doubt. So you could make a good case in civil and not have one that would fly in criminal.
So is this a good move or not?
I think it's a good move. I think it should only be fair.
Ken?
Yeah, I would agree with Bill.
Chapman, you want to wrap us up in the last 45 seconds we have in the show?
Absolutely. The problem with that civil forfeiture is that it does kind of violate the due process. Cash is usually seized, although a lot of communities, read about a couple of communities in Texas that were seizing the cars that were stopped, auctioning those off, taking that. And in that case, you have to sue, and the community then quibbles over the value of the property. So it ends up just being basically a gift to these folks. So pretty clear violation in many cases of due process. There should be more shifting to the rights of the citizens. So it's a good thing.
Sorry, we are out of time. Appreciate you being on the show, guys. Appreciate you watching. If you have any questions or comments, please email me, I think, at thisweekinkansas@kings.com. We should get some interesting ones this week. Have a wonderful week.
It's epic, irresistible, and joyfully ridiculous.